So in this video, I want to show you how I built my Pannier rack system for right around $6. Pretty cheap. So this side is what we're going to try copying over to here. This side's a little bit different because the exhaust is fatter, and so it pushes your plastics out just a little bit more, so you kind of have to account for that. And I also want to talk about why this is positioned how it is. So first off, it is a little bit bigger than some of the ones I've seen, and so it's farther back than some of the ones that I've seen, because you don't want to hit the passenger's legs here on this corner. So that's about why it's here. And then the height, I kept it a little higher than most because I didn't want it to hit into rocks and stuff like that. And then I also pushed this square piece farther away from the bike because I've seen my friends' softbag straps, when they wrap around the back by this pipe, get hot enough and just fail like much sooner than they should. So I pushed this away to kind of keep the heat flowing through and then away. So that's why this side's like that. If we're trying to copy this side over here, basically what we're doing is just kind of eyeballing it. You can take measurements and come off of things and try to come off of this side. But what we're gonna do is come off this top corner is about lined up with the stock tail light or signal light bolts here. So we're gonna come off the top corner here, and then for this angle we're gonna follow, basically it's the seat and the plastic here, but this part is slightly higher than this part is here, so you can see it's just raised a little bit more. So that's basically what we're gonna come off of, is this back piece and then raising it up so that it fits about that same dimension. One thing I forgot to mention was how mine was mounted up differently. My bike had brackets that were already in place when I bought the bike, and they're pretty thick. They're like almost 1/4 inch thick steel plates, and they were just previously there. I had them on my passenger foot peg with this hole that's 5/8 diameter, and then up here by my rack, and it has the same hole. So that's what I was using this to mount into those, and then I would just weld around that. If you don't have these and just need to find a simple way to do it, what I would do is just smash the end of this pipe flat with a hammer or whatever you got, and then drill a hole, and then you can mount directly to this bracket, and then you can mount directly to your top passenger peg bolt. And then if this doesn't go to your KLR, you're just gonna have to kind of work with it. But yeah, just flatten these out and drill a hole, and then bend your pipe from there. After eyeballing it and measuring things up on this top piece for this little tube, we ended up getting about 2 inches and needing to put a slight bend in it to kind of bring this whole piece down a little bit more to match that side. So that's this piece, and now we just have to do the bottom one. This is the pipe that goes down by the passenger foot peg. To keep it out of the way of their feet, you need to put a slight bend in it, and we'll put it on the vise and use this pipe and bend it up. And then you just check for clearances by placing it up by there, and then seeing if your foot will clear it or not. Usually I'll tack weld it on and then test fit that, and if it works, I'll finish welding it up. If not, I'll break the tack welds, bend it again, and then just keep going until it works. Before we start working on this pipe down here by the passenger peg, I want to get this little guy tacked in on the top right here. And in order to do that, we need to disconnect the battery first, and from there we'll have to take off this 8mm and this 8mm, get this plastic off, and possibly take the seat off, and then we can use a Phillips head to remove the top bolt from the negative terminal. So we've disconnected the battery and then pre-assembled it back together because I'm using the body lines to kind of put my rack where I want it. I've got some bare metal showing here. You want to make sure that your welding spots are cleaned up. I've got some metal, so I'm just going to go with that and then clean it up after I tack it. But let's tack it on and then we'll bend and adjust from there. Okay, so now that it's tacked on, I'm gonna kind of just tweak it and bend it till it's about where I want it. And then I'll come back in and put this one in. And if I need to, shorten it up a little bit and get it to fit into this position the best I can. So we'll go from there. Now we have it tacked in place nice and sturdy. We're going to remove the bolts where the brackets are here and on the passenger foot peg here and here. And then I can pull it off and clean it up and finish welding it up nice and smooth. Okay, now we'll put it on the table and finish welding it up around the edges and then clean the welds up and spray it for some paint so it doesn't rust. Okay, now we got it cleaned up. We're gonna paint it with just some cheap paint. I recommend using a part A, part B, kind of like an epoxy. They just hold up better. But when it comes to this cheap stuff, if you do end up scratching it, you can just kind of mask it off and touch it up and you're good. So for now, I'm just gonna use this to keep this from rusting. And then just apply as many coats as needed, and then we'll let this dry and mount it back on. All right, now that it is dry, we can mount it up and then put the bags on. So we'll start bolting it down. last time I took these bolts out on the other side, they had a little bit of Loctite on them, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and put a tiny dab of it on just to make sure my luggage doesn't rattle loose or my passenger bag. Alright, now we just need to put some bags on. For the most part, that's pretty much how it looks. $6 and 10 feet of pipe later, we have the rack done. Bags are on, they fit really good. The clearances are good, just what I wanted. I think some future plans just to help with this rack system. Most rack systems have a bar that comes out and around to the fender and then back to the other one. I could do that, or I can also come off of another bracket here, come down to this corner, and then shore up this corner so when I lay it down it doesn't bend it too bad. Other than that, very happy with how it turned out. Looks good. Stoked about it. Hopefully this video helped you guys out and you can get yourself a rack put on your bike for fairly cheap. Any questions or comments, just put them in the comments below. And on that, I will catch you guys later.